Hello, everyone. Here, my name is Bartolomeo. I'm here. This is my first tryout live streaming on YouTube. I'd like to emphasize that this is not a course for a normal course for learning English per se, but it's rather a course in uh, recommendations, not a course, but recommendations on how to go about tackling, how to strategies, recommendations, and literally walking participants or candidates of a future testing for TOEFL exams in general. Depending on your needs, this is what I'm going to be doing here today. I'm a bit nervous, as most people would be in when streaming, live streaming. Um, but I'll do my best here. This is the objective of this video is to provide users or visitors to my channel with recommendations, as I said, in tackling or when encountering the need to test out of to get a higher score on any TOEFL test, whether it's a internet-based version or the paper-based version. Okay, so here we'll start with the. I always like to start with the written expression, what most people call it the grammar section, the grammatical section. Today, I'm going to pretty much focus on the basics of what is expected of you, anyone who comes across the need to use English, not only on a test. We're going to be using this screen sharing as support to as an aid, as a tool for showing, demonstrating how grammar structure is not only needed when testing, when doing a test, completing a test for a certification or whatever, but it's also uh, necessary to know why we speak the way we speak, why we express ourselves the way we express ourselves on a daily basis. And one point that I like to make is that um, knowing strategies, going over strategies about grammatical structures or certain skills, as we will see eventually down throughout the many videos that we'll be uploading, hopefully. That it's essential to to know why we express ourselves the way we do. And that being said, let me commence with what you see on the screen, which is says this is the structure and written expression, which is the second section of a TOEFL test. I usually find this reading part, the explanation, very as a very tedious process or procedure. But it's just bear with me, and I'll try to be. I'll try to use synonym words and or contract use contraction of a short paragraph or even sentences, as not to make it so long and or tedious. Okay, so the second section of the TOEFL test is the structure and written expression section, as you can see in the screen. This section consists of 40 questions, which some tests may be longer. You are given 25 minutes to complete the 40 questions in this section. Now, there are two types of questions in the structure and written expression section of the TOEFL test. Now, what is essential here? I just read that you are given 25 minutes to complete a total uh, number of questions. Of 40 questions. Sorry about that. Well, time here is an issue. You may find, or you might agree with me or not, but you may find it very peculiar that you know certain grammatical structures, or certain you're usually pretty good at getting high scores on, or high marks on exams, but when it comes to being tested out, you your performance, your results, your outcome is not the same. So especially when you're being timed. So here that it's a little tricky to understand without being nervous, or without making it an obstacle. The fact that you need to keep in mind that time is your enemy. Uh, that's a way of saying it. Time is a big issue here. So we need to be very, very uh, specific, or be very aware of what is expected of us. And that's what we're here today. Okay, so here, as you can see, point one, the first one, it says structure, which is the first 15 questions, which consists of 15 sentences, in which part of the sentence has been replaced, substituted with a blank. So each sentence is followed by four options, okay? Four choices. So in which you might, so in which you must choose the answer the best completes the sentence in a grammatical way. Like, so here, the second one says written expression, which is question 16 through the last one, to 40, which is four words or group of words have been underlined, and you must choose the underlined, or the underlined word or group of words that is not correct. So here, many students or participants get confused because of the simple fact that they do not know they do not understand the instruction, what is expected them or us during this from 16 to 40. So here, the underlined word or words is the one that is incorrect. So you must identify. So as general strategies, remember the beauty of any TOEFL course or exams is that the directions, the instructions, whatever you want to call them, recommendations, they're always the same. So it says, first one says, be familiar with the directions. The directions on every TOEFL test are the same. So it is not necessary to spend time reading the directions carefully when each time, or when you take the test, okay, or a test. You should be completely familiar with the directions before the day of the test. That is something that, I mean, you should be totally aware of the fact that do not spend too much time trying to understand the directions, because the directions are always the same. Okay, so in conclusion, uh, that's the whole idea here. To begin with questions 1 through 15, anticipate that these questions will be the easiest compared to the rest of them. Anticipate the questions 1 through 15 excuse me, el- would be the most difficult. Do not spend too much time on questions 11 to 15. There'll be easier questions to come later. Three, continue with questions 16 through 40. Anticipate or predict or prepare for questions 16 to 20, which will be um, extremely easy. So anticipate that the most difficult questions would be from 36 to 40. Okay. Four, if you have time, then only if you have time, return to questions 11 to 15. You should spend extra time on questions 11 to 15 only, only, keyword here, only after you spend excuse me, the time that you want on the easier questions. Why is this recommendation crucial, essential, fundamental? Well, it's because of the simple fact that you want to assure that the easier questions are points, strong points in your favor towards your final score or final mark. Okay, so that is why. And again, remember that there is no penalty. You will not be judged nor criticized if you guess answers. That, for example, if you don't have time to finish, if time consumes you, eats you up, and you do not have time to finish as you expected, well, guess. All right, so never leave any answers blank on your test sheet. Okay, so even if you're not sure of the correct response, you should answer each question. Again, not to be redundant, but there's no penalty for guessing. Okay, so carry on. We will continue with, it says the structure questions. In the TOEFL test, questions 1 through 15, as previously mentioned, um, will test your knowledge of the correct structure of English sentences. The questions in this section are multiple choice questions in which you must choose the letter of the answer that best completes the sentence. As an example, we have here one thing that I like to point out before we continue is I'm going to write here a recommendation for any English user, whether English uh, is your native tongue or native language, or you are a just another of the millions and millions of English users. This is a great help. If you remember this, that any expression, the ideal, the desired structure would be that the first word that comes out of your mouth should be a subject, okay? A subject which will receive or perform the action of the verb, okay? So this is the my most important thing that I like to point out when giving tips or recommendations or advice on uh, any issues related to grammar in English. Okay. All right. So here, so the first word ideally should be a subject, a person, a thing, a something. All right. And the second verb, the second person should be, the second part or word should be a verb. And after that, it's complement. Okay. So here we have obviously the verb in the part of the verb which is in a continuous form, present continuous, if I'm not mistaken. Here, at this point, I'm taking a wild guess as a user or as a person being examined. Okay, so I analyze. Okay, consider the choice is taken trip to New York. Okay, so here, based on this information, I have a verb and a complement, but there's no subject. And if we analyze the verb, the analogy that I have to make here is that the verb is in the singular form. So my or third person, as some people would like to call it. Okay, so third person, the verb is conjugated for third person subject or singular form of the verb, which it tells us that we eliminate here quickly eliminates what possible subjects that are plural. As an example of that being they, plural. So we eliminate that. Her is part of a possessive adjective. So here, her by logic explanation would be, or logic understanding would be that her needs to be accompanied of a noun. Her something, her mom, her house, her boyfriend, her dog, her cat, etc. So here, her needs to be accompanied of a noun being subject pronoun, but you cannot mix them because this is part of a possessive adjective, etc. So here we have when, which could be an adverb, a time word. So this logic that we have time to go through the process of doing this logic during an explanation or either by watching one of my videos or any other video or going through a book. This is the kind of logic that we need to uh, uh, go through. Okay, so here the only option left would be the singular noun woman, the woman. So as explained here, it says in this example, excuse me, in this example, you should notice immediately the sentence has a verb, is taken, and the verb needs a subject. Okay, so answers B and D are incorrect because when and her are not subjects. In answer A, they is a subject, but they is plural, and the verb is taken is singular. So the correct answer is C. The woman is a singular subject. You should therefore choose answer C. Okay, so uh, understanding grammar in English is very easy compared to I'm in Culiacan, Sinaloa, uh, as we speak. I mean here obviously my mother tongue is Spanish, and but it's very funny and peculiar that I hardly know grammar in Spanish. I know more grammar in English than in Spanish. Why? Because it's a little more English. Learning grammar in English is a lot easier than Spanish. I'm not going to say other languages, but at least comparing English and Spanish. English is much easier to learn grammatically speaking. Okay, I'm not saying that it's like easy peasy as taking a candy away from from a child, but rather it's rather uh, more direct, less complicated. Okay, so anyways, going back to here the explanation, this is why this is relevant to make notes and pay attention to these notes as I did here. This sentence, it so appears like something very easy, and you say, why is he spending so much time explaining this? Well, because this is the kind of logic that we need to go through, or approach that we need to take towards any sentence in English. We need to go because this is some of my because I am also an English teacher. I have taught for many years, going on 2 decades, yeah, around there, and and some of my students have actually mocked me during Teachers' Day presents or any celebration of my birthday. They have given me, like, rather than writing my name on the cake itself, they write subject verb complement, and I tend to I make it a point to almost uh, write subject verb complement on a daily basis on blackboard or chalkboard, whatever you call it. Um, yes, so this is something so simple, uh, and yet important, relevant. And here also the logic, the explanation about the verb being in singular, because these kind of things may the explanation, the time I'm taking to go through these recommendations or this simple explanation, it, is is very valuable because once you have uh, taken this approach, it'll become much easier to understand uh, longer or more complicated sentences because the approach, again, is the same. It is tackled the same way that you tackle a simple present continuous sentence or expression. All right. So, what are the strategies for the previously mentioned? It says strategies for the structured questions. One, first study the sentence. Your objective is to determine what is needed, what is necessary, what's missing in order to complete the sentence correctly. Okay. Okay. Second, it says, then study each answer based on how well it completes a sentence and eliminate answers that do not complete the sentence correctly. As I was explaining, they is plural. You know that your objective is to find a singular noun that could be used as your singular subject. So you eliminate answers that do not complete the sentence correctly. Three, do not try to determine, do not try to eliminate incorrect answers by looking only at the answers. The incorrect answers are generally or normally correct if you isolate them by themselves, if you analyze them as individuals. So the correct answers are generally incorrect when they're used to complete the sentence. Okay, so never, again, never leave any answers blank. Be sure to answer each question, even if you are uncertain, even if you are not sure, if you are unsure, if you are uncertain, if you have doubts. Just go eeny, miny, miny, mo. Just take a guess. You will not be penalized for guessing. Hey, you never know. You might be assertive. You might get it correct. So, and finally, five, do not spend too much time on structured questions. Be sure to leave adequate time for the um, questions follow, that may follow. Okay. So I'm going to stop here. As I said, we will continue in next video here. Please bear with me. This is the very first time I'm a little bit uh, I got a little bit of a stage fright, uh, but even though I mean, after COVID, I mean, we started online teaching, and I tend to teach online at least 4 months out of the year. But even then, I had never actually recorded a video of myself, knowing that I'm going to be criticized or judged. But let that be it, if that's so. But again, I'm not. trying to impress anyone here. Again, my my mother tongue is Spanish, and if there are a few mistakes here and there, mm, excuse me. But again, I'm here to help. Okay, if you care um, to subscribe to my channel, do so. And if you have any recommendations, questions, uh, well, feel free to send me a message or comment. Thank you so long.